years, and the best part of the job is being on this committee, by far. When everything else is not going well, being on this committee is the best part of the job. It's the best part of the job because my colleagues are rock solid. We have plenty of disagreements, but we work very, very closely together. The week after the 4th of July, we'll mark up the defense bill. We sit around a table. We're the only committee that does this. We sit around the table until every last member has offered every last amendment and there's nothing left to offer. And then we end up with a bill that even if you lose an amendment or two, everybody has their fingerprints on it. We usually vote it out 25-2 or 26-2. My colleagues are good. The staff is fantastic. But the important part of it is the mission. It's our troops. Virginia, I'm going to make a claim, and other senators will challenge me in a virtuous competition, but I'm going to claim we are the most pro-military state in this country. About 1 out of 10 Virginians is a veteran. Then there's active, then there's Guard, then there's reserve, then there's DOD civilians, then there's DOD contractors and military families like mine. It's such serious stuff. It's such serious stuff. I was very, very disturbed yesterday, and this is not going to be a question for any of you. This is really just for this gathering. I was so disturbed yesterday when the commander-in-chief of the greatest nation on this planet posted a music video, bomb, 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 bomb Iran, bomb, 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 bomb Iran, went to a mosque, gonna throw some rocks, time to turn Iran into a parking lot. Music video with bombers flying behind residential buildings. It had another line in it about sending the Ayatollah home in a box. I mean, is this the way? Is this the way we ought to treat war in this country? I mean, is it just a big joke? 40,000 troops are deployed in the Middle East right now. They're all on high alert because of what's going on in the Middle East. I've got people all over Virginia who are worried about, are they going to get deployed? Are their kids going to get deployed? Are we going to be in a third war in the Middle East in the last 20 years? And we've got a commander-in-chief putting up stuff like this. When I came to the Senate, I served first under a Democratic president, then under President Trump, then under a Democratic president, then again under President Trump. And I came with the view that war was too serious an issue to be left to one person. I deeply believe what the framers of our Constitution believe, that the matter is so serious and so consequential that it shouldn't be left to one person, that we should only be at war if Congress has a serious and deliberative process about that. And I have a resolution that will likely be voted on to that effect in the next couple of days. But I just wanted to begin with this. Let's take this seriously. I think the committee takes it seriously. I think the American public takes it seriously. I know Virginians who are in the military or whose family are in the military take it seriously. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. Secretary Gillis, let me ask you this. We had the person that is currently serving as acting in the position for which you've been nominated before us in the Readiness Subcommittee yesterday. Senator Sullivan and Hirono held a hearing, and I asked them about UAS issues. We've got major challenges with U.S. incursions on our bases, Army bases and others. We had an incursion at the base, the Langley base, 19 months ago. We still haven't gotten good answers for it. The Army is playing kind of a lead role in this. They are the executive agent, and NORTHCOM is the lead synchronizer in the kind of all-stakeholder group as we're trying to figure out how to stop UAS incursions on our bases. Talk to me about how you would prioritize this should you be confirmed.
Senator, I watched that hearing with great interest, and I thought that Dr. Waxman did a great job, and I'll reiterate a few points. I mean, first, there's the technological piece. We have to figure out whether it's kinetic or non-kinetic and how we balance the security and installation with the safety of the adjacent public. And then there's the authorities piece. So having looked into this a little bit before when I was in the seat, we've got to coordinate and be sure that we have the right authorities with respect to the FAA and the FCC so that we can take the actions that we need to take. But agree with you that it is a very important and alarming issue, and commit to looking into that and continuing to drive the Army's efforts.
Yield back.
It is an issue that needs a good bit of attention. Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cao, thank you for taking on this challenge and for your inspiring story. You demonstrate to this committee and to this country the value that immigrants and refugees can play in the future of our country, and you're a walking statement of that fact. I want to just emphasize something that you mentioned in your opening statement, and that is maintenance. It's the most boring topic of all, but as you correctly point out, one of our major problems is availability. We all talked about AI. I did a little AI work this morning. The average availability of Navy ships is in the range of 60%. It depends on which ship, but some are below 50, some are in the range of 65 or 70, but generally between 50 and 60%. The availability of Carnival Cruise Line ships is 91%. If Carnival Cruise Line ships were available 60% of the time, they'd be out of business. I hope that you'll carry through on what you suggest in your opening testimony and really get after this issue of maintenance and availability. I challenge you to come back to this committee in a couple of years and tell us we're benchmarking against Carnival Cruise Lines.
Thank you for that, Senator. Yes, we are a maritime nation. We depend on the seas for trade, and right now we're deficit in not just commercial ships. I think there's less than 80 flagged U.S. ships. There's less than 129 military Sea Command ships, and our fleet is, less than 400 ships right now, and or actually less than 300 ships. And we need a stronger Navy in order to maintain the freedom of the seas.
I agree with that. We're not building enough ships, but we're also not keeping the ships that we have in service. I take it you agree with that.
Yes, Senator. The ASABO, or the operational availability, is pretty horrid on a lot of ships.
I'll look forward to tracking that with you as time goes on. Mr. Dodd, you have, I think, one of the most important jobs in the Pentagon, which is technology. The adaptation of new technology is what wins wars. Genghis Khan was able to conquer the world because of his utilization of the stirrup, which enabled his archers to shoot from horseback, and it was that technology that enabled him. The longbow at the Battle of Agincourt enabled 6,000 British troops to defeat an army of 20,000 French. I'm worried, and you mentioned several technologies in your testimony, but we've basically been slow on several technologies. We've been slow on drones, on hypersonics, and particularly on directed energy, which you didn't mention. But in the age of drones, directed energy can be more important than ever. The prior administration woefully underfunded the development of directed energy. I hope that's something that you will pursue in your new position.
Senator, thank you for raising that very important issue. And if confirmed, directed energy would be a technology area in the critical technologies portfolio. I'm a staunch advocate and believer, as you referenced, in a one-to-many response in utilizing many faster, cheaper platforms, and certainly in the counter-UAS domain. Directed energy will play a critical role in that. High-performance microwaves are making some significant advances. Those platforms have already been prototyped. They're being tested currently. So we are excited to, again, if confirmed, see the growth and scaling of directed energy platforms.
Well, I'd point out in the Red Sea today, we're shooting down $20,000 Yemeni and Iranian drones with $4 million missiles. That's unsustainable, and a shot from a directed energy is about 75 cents. So this is urgent, and I hope it is pursued not only systematically, but also with some urgency.
Senator, fully commit to pursuing directed energy platforms if confirmed.
Thank you. Mr. Ingraham, logistics, acquisition, and technology. One of the hidden issues there is industrial base. And everybody that comes before this committee talks about rebuilding the industrial base. And part of that is workforce. The industrial base can't grow and support what we need with the limited workforce that we have now. So I hope that will be a significant part, because you can't do acquisition if you don't have people to acquire the products from. Is industrial base part of what you view as your mission?
Senator, absolutely. The industrial base is absolutely critical, and ensuring that we have a strong industrial base is fundamental to acquisitions, as you mentioned. I think a number of key things, if confirmed, I would want to make sure we're doing is first understanding where those critical gaps are in our industrial base. We've got to map that industrial base, starting right from the mine all the way to the factory floor, to where we see in the value stream. We need to ensure we're adding some resilience and some strength to our industrial
I would
base.
suggest that one important provision here, one important initiative, is a steady demand signal. We can't expect our private sector contractors to make major investments unless they know they're going to be able to sell their products. So multi-year contracting and a steady demand signal is important. They're not going to invest if it's going to be turned off and on, and they don't know if they're going to have the business a year or two later. So I hope you'll consider that as well.
Senator, absolutely. Multi-year procurements has been critical, especially in the munitions space, where we're ensuring that we drive that constant demand signal.
And it saves the taxpayers money. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator King. Senator Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dodd, great to see you here today. Congratulations on your important nomination. Once you're confirmed, you're going to be in charge of a number of critical technology areas, including hypersonics, that you're going to help oversee. America still has not deployed a hypersonics weapon, and our adversaries are already ahead of us in this important area. We need to get these weapons out of the lab and into the field. Can you tell us today how you're going to help do that?
Senator, thank you for that extremely important question, and your compelling work in this topic, especially with Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane Division and their development of the hypersonic technologies. As you referenced, the United States currently is behind our adversaries, most notably China, in this technology domain. There are a couple of underway efforts in my sister organization, JIF confirmed, in Science and Technology, the Joint Hypersonics Transition Office, and in the Mission Capabilities Office would be the MACH-TB program, which you have been a staunch advocate for, in the testing and evaluating on a much more rapid time and scale, and that is needed. And so for us to catch up in hypersonics is utilization of those programs and furthering the development, testing, and deployment of hypersonic technologies.
Can you explain the MACH-TB program to the committee and talk about why it's so important?
Yes, Senator Banks, thank you for that. So the MACH-TB program, again, would reside in the mission capabilities portfolio, but it is the rapid testing and evaluating of the hypersonic technologies and reducing the cost by which we're looking to deploy these technologies as well.
And what else can we do when it comes to research and development for hypersonics? I mean, what else is out there that we're not doing, that we can be doing, that you're going to push for?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I think the additional efforts, if confirmed, are going to be to get in and utilize some of the existing authorities and successes that that exist currently in the critical technology portfolio in hypersonics. So the utilization of the other transaction authority, the ability to identify, vet, procure, get on contract, and deploy those technologies at speed, relevance, and scale.
Okay. Another area that you're going to help oversee is microelectronics. Places like Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane that you've already mentioned in Indiana are critical to making sure that the DoD has secure access to safe and reliable microelectronics. How can we further strengthen our secure microelectronics supply chain at the DoD?
Again, thank you for that question, Senator Banks. Also, Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane Division as an anchor mission partner in the Trusted and Assured Microelectronics at Microelectronics Commons. Not widely known, but scary, is by some accounts as much as 10% of microelectronics in the United States are counterfeit, corrupt, or malicious. Both of those programs address the gap in our security in identifying and deploying trusted, assured microelectronics into all of our systems. Again, foundational in everything that we have.
Mr. Cao, Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane that we've just been talking about for the last 3 minutes is the crown jewel of Indiana's defense industry and our defense assets. I hope that you'll take some time to come visit after you're confirmed. It would be very important to have us host you as the Undersecretary of the Navy. As you may know, Crane has a key role in Navy hypersonics and in the Navy's new nuclear sea-launched cruise missile, also known as SLICM-N. Mr. Cao, how important are these programs to deterring conflict with China?
Thank you for that question, Senator. CPS, or Conventional Prompt Strike, is extremely important. I moved that budget line when I was in the Navy from OSD AT&L to the Navy in 2017, and we still have not developed CPS. It was supposed to be developed within the FIDIP, so that is extremely critical. As for the SLICM-N, again, we need every piece of that nuclear triad to be operational, and so, yes, sir, I would love to visit Crane, Indiana.
Thank you. We look forward to hosting you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Senator Schmidt, you are now recognized, and also you hold the gavel.
Oh, wow.
I have to leave for another hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Cao, I wanted to ask you, as relates to the Navy, I was thrilled, obviously, to see that the Air Force, President Trump announced the F-47 is moving forward, the next generation fighter that I think is particularly important as we continue to pivot to China, the Indo-Pacific. It can see further, go faster, bigger payloads. There's a lot of reasons why it's a very important platform for us, which gets us then to the Navy with the potential F/A-XX next-gen fighter that would be carrier-based. How do you view that? Why is that important? And what advantages can we gain from having a next-gen fighter on those carriers?
Thank you for that question, Senator. The carrier is 99,000 tons of American diplomacy. It can be anywhere at any time. With the Air Wing on board is the 7th largest air force in the world. And so we absolutely need a 6th-generation aircraft to be on those aircraft carriers in order to, push our American diplomacy and secure the seas for allies and our friends.
As you see it right now, what are some of the challenges that might exist that the Navy might need to overcome? I mean, there is some money in here to move forward in the reconciliation bill, but what challenges do we need to overcome to make sure that happens?
Senator, it's the bureaucracy, it's the tech warrant holders, as Senator or as Chairman Wicker had mentioned. It's a lot of people that are saying no. One person should only say no, and that should be the Secretary of the Navy. And along the way, each person can assume the risk and move out, or they push it up to the next level. But we need to move out, and we need 6th-generation aircrafts.
Well, I agree. So look forward to working with you to help maybe cut through some of that bureaucratic no we hear right now and make sure that we actually get this thing done. Mr. Hurst, I wanted to ask you, as it relates to military base defense, anybody who watched anything related to what the Ukrainians and that drone attack in Russia can understand, and we've heard about it a lot in open and classified settings for sure, but I think that really brings home the capabilities that are out there and that exist, which then leads to sort of our defense of that. How are you looking at the evolution of installation security in the modern era, given the potential risk from drone strikes?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. I think the proliferation of small unmanned aerial systems has democratized air power, that anybody can afford it now. And I think it's a key readiness issue that we quickly field commercial technologies that are ready to counter that. We include this in our training exercises, and we work with the FAA and other authorities that allow us to fully utilize capabilities to stop these threats.
It's my view that the commercial sector is already they've already produced a lot of these tools that can be used, and kind of getting back to some of the cultural shift I think that needs to happen. Oftentimes, the private sector has been asked, or they just do it, create a solution, but sort of the government procurement folks or the requirements that are put in place, especially as it relates to drones. I mean, they're outdated in 6 months, right? But as far as relates to drone defense, a lot of that technology is already out there. And I think, unfortunately, the Air Force has been really flat-footed on this. I think as relates to, we've got, of course, Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, the Army. We've got Whiteman, which has clearly been in the news, given what happened over the weekend with the B-2s. This is one of those things that we have got to be nimble with. And so the private sector, I've met with some of them, they have the capabilities. They have the ability to detect, disarm, and if ultimately take down these sort of drone strikes and even mass drone strikes or swarms. But we're still kind of, I feel like we're a little bit stuck in this bureaucratic maze. What do you think what can be done to cut through that? Because I think everyone recognizes the capabilities and the problems, but we're still here. We're still here.
Senator, I think this is an issue that I would own if confirmed with several other people in this panel. But one thing I think the department could explore is contracting for things as a service. Have Counter US as a service to get a jump start on this and test out things faster.
Okay. I look forward to working with that. Thank you. Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ingram, actually to all 5 of you, congratulations on your nominations. And thank you for your service and your future service. Mr. Ingram, thank you for meeting with me earlier this week. I want to follow up on our discussion about electronic warfare. As the Assistant Secretary for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology, you'll be responsible for the entire research, development, and acquisition lifecycle of Army platforms and warfare systems. And I appreciate you sharing with me your experience in Afghanistan about how important it is for our service members to get the best equipment possible. That is critical. Within the acquisition cycle, can you tell me how important you think it is in the developmental testing and evaluation step here? How important is developmental testing and evaluation?
Senator, I appreciate the question and absolutely enjoyed the time and the discussions we were able to have in your office beforehand. Development testing is absolutely critical. As we started talking a lot about electronic warfare, especially in the electronic warfare space. We need to ensure that our capabilities that can be the most effective in a electromagnetic spectrum that the operators can't see. Our soldiers aren't going to be able to see the electronic warfare effects that are being placed against them. And so having that capability to counter those electronic warfare methods will absolutely be critical.
Yeah, I would argue that we're doing a disservice to our service members to turn over systems to them before it's gone through a complete DT evaluation, cycle, because you're not going to figure out problems with the systems without doing that. So I'm concerned about proposed cuts that would disproportionately affect the electronic proving ground. The electronic proving ground at Fort Huachuca provides the unique capability to execute electronic warfare developmental testing without the interference due to geography. It sits in a bowl with mountains basically on all sides. It also benefits from an ideal climate, 320 flying days per year. It's federally protected airspace, which further minimizes the interference. So it allows some very aggressive, offensive EW jamming tests to really flush out the systems in a developmental test program. Other Army test and evaluation commands, so ATEC proving grounds, simply cannot provide the same kind of environment. So that would lead us, without the ability to fully test our capabilities and train our soldiers and pilots how to use them and counter our adversaries. And what I'm getting at is the cuts that are proposed for the electronic proving ground. It's going to have some long-term consequences if the staff at EPG is significantly reduced. Normally when we want to look at an organization and make some cuts because we think there's too much overhead involved, I think the appropriate thing to do is look at the entire organization. At EPG, the folks that they're looking at eliminating are the ones that are actually doing the work, the developmental testing work that is key to making sure our electronic warfare systems are going to work effectively in a real-world environment. So, if confirmed, would you be willing to work with me on trying to prevent these unnecessary cuts at EPG?
Senator, if confirmed, absolutely look forward to working with you on this. We have an incredible opportunity to take the lessons learned from modern warfare, especially as we see what's happening in Ukraine and in Israel right now, where electronic warfare is a critical factor on the battlefield and ensuring our systems can operate in that environment.
Yeah, I would say especially in the Western Pacific. I mean, we're seeing it in Ukraine right now, but especially in the Western Pacific, in a conflict with China, who controls and can operate in a contested EW environment. It's going to be the key to air superiority, and it's going to be the key to success in fighting our adversaries. So thank you for your willingness to do that. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to submit a question for the record for Mr. Hurst here. Has to do with training our healthcare workforce within the military and how we can help them transition to careers once they leave their service. Thank you.
Without objection. Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I ask my question, I want to comment the 4 best behaved children in the world are sitting right here. I'm so impressed. Whose children are they?
Those are mine, Senator.
You just earned my vote.
I think my wife.
Mr. Ingraham, what I want to touch on is when we're purchasing platforms, when we're doing acquisition, we should be acquiring the IP along with the platform so that we can repair, so that we can maintain. It would accelerate the maintenance process. For example, I believe every ship should have a 3D printer. Every depot should have a 3D printer, every hangar, so that we can not, the famous saying, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost, and on from there. So I hope that that can be something that will be part of our routine acquisition process. We not only buy the product, but we buy the rights to repair that product and the IP for how to build those parts, which we can now do. I hope that's something that you'll follow up on.
Senator, absolutely. Right to repair is critical in any one of our platforms, and so ensuring we get the right data rights and the right intellectual property up front in the contracts is actually critical. And I absolutely agree, additive manufacturing, 3D printers is critical as we think about forward, especially on the at the tip of the spear in the front line. I can tell you in a past role inside the Department of Defense, I purchased the first 3D metal printer and implemented it at the Naval Surface Warfare Dahlgren, where we were able to print a number of capabilities that we used very extensively in Afghanistan and Iraq.
So you know that it's not only a savings of money for the taxpayer, but perhaps more importantly, it's a savings of time and could be a savings of lives in particular situations. So I commend you for that and hope that that gospel of right to repair and purchasing the IP will be consistent throughout the acquisition process at the Pentagon. Spread the word, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator King. I'd like to thank our witnesses for your testimony here today, and for information, the members' questions for the record will be due to the committee within 2 business days of the conclusion of this hearing. We are adjourned.